we'll start this part off with changing the transmission oil, engine oil, and then we'll also do the transmission oil, transmission filter and gasket. So we'll walk you through that. There's nothing really to this. As I said before, the engine oil pan gasket looks good. It's not leaking, so that's actually a win because it's a big job, time consuming. So we got the transmission filter and gasket. Also came with a new crash ring, which is nice because this was actually leaking. I took the gasket out, it's all warped. What you guys want to do is you want to straighten this as much as possible before you start putting it on. These are kind of a pain because they don't really hold themselves on all that well on their own. So we'll just put a couple pieces of wood on it, let it sit here for a couple hours and kind of normalize the shape so it's as straight as possible. While we're down here in these awesome conditions with no hoist, you might as well change the torque converter fluid. So with the torque converter, you need to spin it. There is a side glass here where you will see the drain plug finally. You gotta keep spinning it, so there's two ways of doing that. You can spin the engine, the crank, or you can take a screwdriver, pop this front cover off, and just spin this sucker just by wedging the screwdriver on something until you get to see your actual drain plug. It's going to be the same size as the transmission drain plug, which is a 5mm hex. And it is. Nice Mercedes. I like Mercedes. Now we're gonna have to get the drain pan under here. Oh, this is so awesome with no hoist. Just rocks. Looks actually really clean. Probably because they had the leak here and they kept adding fresh fluid into this. So the transmission pan bolts are 13mm. And how many there is? I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 only. That's it. Kind of like the Jeep Grand Cherokees. My Land Rover, I had a cracked transmission pan. It was a hairline fracture, hairline crack, and it only leaked when it was hot, when the fluid got really thin. This is a steel pan, so it shouldn't have this issue, but there's a chance that there's corrosion in this pan. So we'll have to inspect it from the inside. Oh yeah. Just looking at this corrosion here on this exhaust. It's just the shields. There's no leaks in the actual exhaust. So I think if I take this to the exhaust shop, I will be able to get them to replace only this section of pipe. I'm draining the torque converter, I'm taking the oil pan off.
You are?
Yeah, you can drain these torque converters, these old ones.
You want to check the...
We'll have to wash this out and we'll check it for leaks. There's no rust on the inside. So I don't think the pan is actually leaking. The oil filter is held on by 3 Phillips screws, it looks like. New transmission oil filter is on. Nothing really to it, just 3 screws. The only issue is it doesn't actually snap in. The screws kind of position it in place. It's rubber, and it doesn't really clip onto the pan. So it's, from my experience, it's always kind of an issue trying to put these on. So we'll try it without any aids, but may have to put some grease on this to make it stick to the actual pan. Oil pan is reinstalled. Torque converter drain plug is reinstalled. Oil pan drain plug is reinstalled. These oil pan bolts, I tightened them to 62 inch-pounds. Because that's what I did on my old Mercedes. I couldn't find the exact spec for this, but I think 722.4, I think it should be the same. It's just a rubber gasket. We didn't have to use any grease or glue to hold the gasket in place. It went on nice, there's no leaks. It's been on for about an hour now. No leaks, nothing from the torque converter either. When you guys are refilling the transmission, it's just a standard process. This tranny takes about 7 quarts, I guess, 7.5 liters or something like that. Since we drained the torque converter, if we didn't drain the torque converter, then you're gonna take less fluid, obviously. Fill the transmission up with about 4 liters or so of fluid. Start the engine up, let it warm up. Put it through its gears, reverse drive a few times. Make sure it's warmed up to about 30 degrees Celsius at least. And while the engine is running, check the transmission fluid, keep refilling until you get to the top of the dipstick. It's very important for the transmission to be at full operating temperature when you're checking the dipstick. Next, we're gonna blow out all of these dead leaves and all that stuff out of here. Since I'm doing this in the winter and it's like minus 30 outside, can't or don't really want to take this outside into the snow and pressure wash it. So we're gonna blow out all of these dead leaves, and then we're gonna use a steam cleaner, a high pressure steam cleaner, to clean out all of these nooks and crannies where all the leaves were sitting when this car sat. Most important ones are right here. There's a drain hole in here somewhere that needs to be rectified, otherwise it gets plugged up and then it becomes a mess. So we're gonna blow all this out and then we're gonna steam clean it. Next, whatever we couldn't get with the air gun, we're gonna get with the crevice tool. Basically, I want all this grime out of there, so when I go to steam it, it'll just be dirt. Now we'll simply go in here and we'll do that throughout. Let that water run off. Like I said, I would probably do this with a pressure washer if this was summer, or if I had a sump in this shop, but it works good. Okay guys, so for these wheels, we're gonna refinish this lip. The rest of the wheel is good. Except from the center cap, we'll remove the center caps too, we'll get them painted. Of course, yeah, of course you gotta go somewhere where I can't find you, eh? So first, what you want to do is tape this up quite well, maybe 2 or even 3 layers of tape, so you don't damage the actual rim while you're sanding down this lip. Yeah, this rim is actually in really good shape. Whatever little scuffs are on it will polish out perfectly. Using a grease and wax remover to get rid of all the dirt. Make sure the tape sticks very nicely, because you don't want any of that lifting. I'm going to leave the tape on the whole process. I'm not going to retape it 50,000 times. So what you want to use is, you want to use 2 different sizes of tape, width of tape. The thin one is really easy to go around corners or radiuses. Maybe we'll do another round all the way around. Three M tape, guys. Best stuff there is. Don't skimp on tape. So right now, as you can see, I'm going really close to the edge as well, because I want this to be doubled up in case I scuff down with the sandpaper a little bit too close. And I really don't want to damage this finish on this original finish on the actual wheel. Okay, now start sanding. We're going to use a really aggressive paper with this 220. Because we want to get all the way down. So what we'll do is we'll start with the 220, just so we can get rid of this clear coat. See, there's all this clear coat is basically hitting my hand almost. So we want to get down to the bare aluminum, and then we'll use like a 400, 800 and 1000, and then we'll power polish these lips. And then after that we'll see, do we need to clear coat them or not? If I don't clear coat them, eventually they'll just become dull again. If I clear coat them, I always risk the same thing happened as happened now, where the clear coat just starts to peel off. So this works great. And you want to get down to the pit. If there's any pitting, then you want to get down to that. Make sure that you smooth out any of the pitting. So first what we'll do, see how that's coming off nicely? Whoa, baby. Remember to switch your paper regularly. Stuff like that you don't skimp on. It'll just add work for you. See, right now this is already getting weak. Went all the way around basically. Okay, we got a rim looking good. Now we'll move on to the 400 paper. So now we want to just smooth out the deep ridges of the 220 paper. And then move on to something finer. Yeah. I believe this is called compounding. You just make a whole bunch of small finer scratches, and then finer, and then finer, and then eventually you just get it polishing. Actually, it's a decent weekend project for all of you guys. You're gonna refinish the lip on your rim, or even the whole rim. A little bit more work for the whole rim. But then you could do something more aggressive, like a power tool or something like that. Which will go faster. Precisely stuff like this, though, is why good body work will always cost quite a bit of money, because it's time consuming. Okay, I've now went over this with 1,000 grit paper, as you can see right here. I couldn't record because my battery died. I didn't have anything harsher than 1,000 grit, but 1,000 grit did a great job here. It's almost shiny already. And now we're gonna polish it. I don't have anything other than my normal 6-inch pad on hand currently, so basically this pad will be sacrificial. It'll be toast. I'm gonna throw it out after this job, because every time I'm gonna touch this tire, it's going to burn the rubber and it's gonna screw up my pad. So I'm using a medium compound at first. I could have used something harsher, but I don't have anything on hand. I only have a medium. So I apply the compound straight to the wheel. And then we go to town. I kind of spread the compound with my fingers so it doesn't splatter all over the place. Okay, we'll wipe off this old compound. And we'll go on to semi-finishing compound. As you can see, we got shine coming up already. Okay, so we finished polishing. We'll wipe this down. Microfiber. Take the tape off, and we'll give her one more run before we call this finished. Okay, I got the first couple done. And here's what this old one looks like. I'd say 100% improvement. We're not trying to make this mint. We're trying to make it an everyday driver. Decent looking. Okay, these are basically done. Next step will be to degrease the tires, paint the center caps, and we're done with these wheels. That's for tomorrow. I'm done. I got these center caps prepped and cleaned and primed. I wet sanded with actually 800 grit. I didn't have any 600 on hand. Also, I wiped them down with my final wipe. This stuff is awesome. Make sure you do that to get rid of any contamination. And I also have my little AMG one that I need to paint. Base is down. We're just waiting for it to flash off. And we're gonna clear coat it. And there we go. The last part of the equation for that bumper and the wheels.